So could convicted felons be getting their federal gun rights back? Well, the DOJ says they expect more than 1 million people nationwide to apply when a program is rolled out again. Right now, felons could get their federal guns back in just a few weeks. Of course, if you are a felon in the United States, you don't have the ability to own a gun. And there are some Supreme Court rulings here. The 10th Circuit Court of Appeals is getting involved. Let's break it all down with Barton Morris, who's the principal attorney at the law offices of Barton Morris. Barton, it's good to have you.
Thank you. Good morning.
So where do we stand on this today? Set the table. What is the DOJ looking to do? What are they looking to bring back essentially here for felons?
Well, this all started with Donald Trump's executive order in February of 2025, where he ordered his Department of Justice to relax different restrictions on the Second Amendment and expand it. And so that began some activity that culminated into the restart of this program, this federal program to restore firearm rights to felons, to nonviolent felons. A proposed rule set was introduced in July of last year, and now we're waiting for those final rules to be published, which will kick off the start of the program.
What about the decision from the Supreme Court Monday to not hear this case when it comes to nonviolent felons?
The Supreme Court recently heard arguments on a case to decide whether people that are addicted to controlled substances or unlawful users of controlled substances should be prohibited from being in possession of a firearm. So the Supreme Court has actually multiple cases on its current term now that are Second Amendment focused and related. And so it is very interesting that that is happening at the same time, but those are two separate scenarios. The judiciary and judicial decisions that are coming out are not necessarily combined with or dependent upon the federal rulemaking process.
Well, talk about this case, too, because SCOTUS decided to decline a challenge from a Utah woman who was convicted of a nonviolent check fraud felony. The 10th Circuit Court of Appeals has rejected her arguments twice, and seems unlikely that they're going to punt it back up.
That is very interesting. You know, every circuit has different rules on that. The Sixth Circuit, and the circuit in which Michigan is in, has already decided that, as applied to particular individuals, the Second Amendment can be held as constitutional and overturn those decisions. But in the 10th Circuit and several other circuits, that's not the case. And what the Supreme Court has done then has not tried to unify the different circuits. We have a division of opinions on the different circuits, and interestingly, surprisingly even, the Supreme Court has decided not to weigh in on that.
Talk to us about your client and make the case for him as to why he should be able to have these rights reapplied.
There are millions of people in this country that have been convicted of nonviolent criminal offenses 5, 10, 20 years ago, and since then have not had any trouble, no convictions since. Their convictions, again, are nonviolent, don't demonstrate that they are a danger to the public, but more importantly, have changed their lives, have matured, have raised families, inspired careers, created businesses, employing other people, and it's unfathomable that they have lost their right to possess a firearm for the rest of their life. This program has really indicated that that's not constitutional and that's not fair. People should be given the right to restore the opportunity to restore that constitutional right, and that's what this program is doing.
And more on Terrence Caron, your client. He petitioned to get his state firearms rights back last year, and now the federal rights may soon come. What's the difference between the federal and the state laws?
Both the state of Michigan has a law that prohibits felons from possessing a firearm, and the federal government has a separate law that prohibits felons from possessing a firearm, and they both act independently. So a person in the state of Michigan needs both the state restoration process and the federal restoration process. And that's going to be the case in every state, because every state has a law that says felons aren't supposed to be in possession of a firearm. And so, and every state's different on this. And Michigan actually is much more liberal than a majority of the states that I've seen.
Interesting. Well, it's something to continue to watch. Is there a time frame on this when we could expect some sort of decision? What's our time frame here?
It's been communicated to me that there's going to be the final rules, which is the next step, will be published in March or April of this year. That will then trigger a 30 to 60-day time period after which the Department of Justice will begin taking applications. They have stated that they will create a website and a portal to take applications, and they're expecting 1 million applications in its first year. So they're expecting a lot of activity, and I suspect they're gearing up for it. They're probably staffing up for it, and they know that this is going to be a very, very popular program.
Barton Morris, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you got it.